You're the most wanted and hated man on the planet. Consider this a preview, Nick. I'm gonna make sure you get the whole show.
Nick Fury. My war is set in motion. This is the extinction of the human race.
So you are responsible for all this?
Why do you think I came back?
After everything you've lost, do you still have any fight left in you?
The only power I have was planted between my ears by a single mother. If that ain't enough, I don't know what hope we have.
You're out of moves, Fury. This is a ticking time bomb.
You got to figure out which side you're on.
Marvel Studios' Secret Invasion.
You going to shoot me? Maybe. Oh, probably.
Welcome back, everyone. It's Charlie. Marvel dropped a trailer for the last couple of episodes of Secret Invasion. There's a whole bunch of new scenes, Easter eggs, so we'll break it all down. If you're brand new to the channel, be sure to subscribe to get all the videos. Just in general, the series is meant to help set up the Marvels movie, which is happening later this year, and in addition to that, what's happening with Captain America 4 soon, with Thunderbolt Ross becoming US President, Val restarting the Weapons Plus program, creating the Sentry, creating the Thunderbolts. Generally setting off Marvel Phase 5's Dark Reign era, because it's kind of the progression, the way things happen in the comics. You go from Secret Invasion, then you go to Dark Reign, where the villains start to come to power. The difference with comic book Secret Invasion is that you have all the heroes, like all the Avengers, all the X-Men, all the Fantastic Four characters, Spider-Man characters, all fighting together to get rid of the Skrulls, even the villains of all those different heroes fighting to get rid of the Skrulls, and it's Norman Osborn who takes credit for killing the Skrull Queen, who in the comics was leading the Secret Invasion. That's how he winds up winning favor with the US government and coming to power. He takes over S.H.I.E.L.D., he takes over all of Iron Man's assets, and kind of sets off this Dark Reign era. The MCU version of that will be a little bit different. Like, we don't have a Norman Osborn inside the MCU right now. The last Norman Osborn was in Spider-Man No Way Home, and he went back to his universe. They're mostly giving that storyline to Thunderbolt Ross and Val. So we'll talk a little bit more about them at the end of the video, but just starting with the new footage here, we have Nick Fury versus Skrull Rhodey at what looks like the president's hospital. Like, I'm assuming after the end of last week's episode, he just took the president to the hospital to get more treatment. It looks like Skrull Rhodey in the Secret Service arrive at the hospital, and Skrull Rhodey is trying to make them think, the Secret Service think, that Nick Fury is really trying to kill the president, when it's really actually him. One of the big things with this is they have to actually out him. Like, he has to turn into his Skrull form in full sight of the Secret Service and the president so that they realize that he really is a Skrull. Technically a female Skrull too, but that doesn't really matter. A lot of people wondering if that's actually going to wind up being the Skrull Queen. I don't think that's the case. They did reference the other Skrull Emperor that was on a completely separate planet. Like Talos said that they did have a Skrull Emperor. He was still alive. He had a completely separate sect of Skrulls that served him, but they were in a completely different part of the universe.
I sent out the call, and every Skrull that isn't in Emperor George's colony, they answered.
For the most part, like the million surviving Skrulls from their original home planet, Skrullos, are now on Earth. There was just a small group of them with the former Skrull Emperor, or still Skrull Emperor technically, in a separate part of the galaxy. My guess is they might reference them during the events of the Marvels movie in more of the space-based movies. Like, they do have a plan to do the Nova character eventually. There'll be more space-based movies in general, even though they're not going to do Guardians of the Galaxy 4. That's a whole separate thing too. Rocket's new Guardians team will continue in the MCU, like they'll keep coming back, but it'll be like the Guardians of the Galaxy appearing during Avengers Infinity War and Avengers Endgame, like they'll show up in other people's movies. There's a new scene of Sonya Falsworth, Union Jack, taking Nick Fury to his graveside, talking about why he left Earth, why he came back. Does he still have fight left in him? The idea is obviously yes. They've kind of alluded to this, like there was trauma that he was dealing with, like he just needed a break in general. They had a joke about it during Spider-Man Far From Home, like he was literally and metaphorically taking a vacation on the Skrull space station, the Saber space station. Just call it a mental health vacation, and he's finally come back. Like, he probably should have come back sooner than this. There's a new scene of him talking about his mother when he's getting his gear from his secret stash at his gravesite. More references to his childhood. He hasn't talked too much about his mama, quote unquote. saying the only real thing that his mother gave him was his brain, and he didn't have a father growing up, like a single mother. It sounds like his father either died in what would have probably been the Vietnam War, just based on the way they're moving the timeline and when all these wars would have happened. Or maybe his father died in some separate event after he was born back in the 60s, or he left the family. Maybe he'll mention more about his father eventually, but it sounds like he was closer to his mother growing up. When they started showing off the early footage of the series, a lot of people assumed that they were actually going to show us what happened to his father, and this tombstone would be for Nicholas Fury Sr., and he's Nicholas Fury Jr. And based on the way they move the timeline of all the characters, maybe they just say that it was his father, Nick Fury Sr., who actually fought with the Howling Commandos, because in the comics, it was actually Nick Fury who fought with the Howling Commandos in Captain America. When he says if his brains aren't enough to stop the Skrulls then the world is doomed, that's also probably part of their justification for not doing a more comic booky Avengers level Secret Invasion with all the Avengers characters, X-Men, Fantastic Four, basically all the major Marvel characters, making Secret Invasion more of a movie Avengers level event. The $500 million version of Secret Invasion, although reportedly they spent over $200 million making this series, which seems kind of crazy, but that's probably because of some of the pandemic protocols. He finally puts the eye patch back on. That's probably part of the metaphor that the old school Nick Fury is finally back. Like fire and brimstone, end of the world is upon us, Nick Fury. Time to assemble that new Avengers team, finally. Reportedly, we're going to see some teasers for that during the Marvels movie, but mostly with the Young Avengers. I think there's going to be a post-credit scene that will set up the Young Avengers team and Miss Marvel trying to go around and put together the younger heroes. I don't know if Nick Fury is supposed to appear in Captain America 4, but I think that's when we're going to get our first teaser for like the full-blown new Avengers team. They won't actually put it together in Captain America 4. There'll just be a teaser for them saying, okay, it's time to finally put together that new team. There's a brand new scene of Gaia finding one of the secret warehouses of people that they've taken over, mostly world leaders, people in critical positions of power. The Skrulls' secret invasion technically already happened a long time ago. That's kind of a running joke during the series, is that it's called Secret Invasion, but the Skrulls took over during the 5-year time jump. That's when their secret invasion actually happened. They'd already taken over all these world leaders' positions at the beginning of the series. That was the whole argument that Gravik had with the council. Is like, we're already in positions of power, like we already control the world, why do we want to mess this up? The evil Skrulls' beef was that they wanted to be able to walk around in broad daylight in their true Skrull form, and that was sort of the other shoe dropping, like that would have actually led to all-out war. Now that's basically what Gravik is trying to do, firing this Russian nuclear missile. Like that's his literal and metaphorical nuclear option now that his plan to kill the president has failed. It's only a coincidence that in real life, there's an ongoing war that Russia has been waging on Ukraine. There's a new scene of Gaia meeting with Nick Fury, who calls him on his plan to stop Gravik and the Skrulls. Like, what are you actually going to do to stop them? There's so many of them, and they're all super Skrulls now. When he gets super pissed here, asking this person which side that they're on, he's probably talking to his wife, because remember, his wife actually was working with Gravik since the snap, but she's since turned sides, and now Gravik's side wants to kill her. They haven't paid this off yet, but I'm assuming just because of the way she was interested in him when he was a child, she became kind of like a surrogate mother to him, and Nick Fury kind of became like a surrogate father, and that's why they're so much closer. That's why Gravik hates Nick Fury so much more than any of the other humans. A lot of people also wondering if Nick Fury actually does have a biological child with his wife here, like a half-human, half-Skrull child. If he did, it probably died after birth. I'm assuming that there is no actual Nick Fury child in present day. There's a new scene of Gaia with his wife attacking the Skrulls, not sure where they're at in this scene. Then we see one of the Super Skrulls freaking out, and then Gravik hulking out or using his cool obsidian powers that he's just given himself to go after Nick Fury inside their base. Technically, they're basing these powers on the original powers of the Super Skrull in the comics, which were based on the Fantastic Four's powers, so it'd be the Thing that they're referencing here. But I think because of the pedigree in the MCU and the way things have gone, they're also referencing Hulk powers too. The only Fantastic Four power we haven't seen is something mimicking the abilities of the Invisible Woman, and that'd be the Frost Beast powers. Maybe we'll see that in Episode 5, or maybe they're saving that for the actual finale. Right now, my guess is that they'll just say that either has camouflage abilities, and that'll be like their version of the Invisible Woman's powers turning invisible. She can also create force fields, so technically that would work too. There'll probably be a couple other Fantastic Four references loosely in the background the last couple of episodes. We won't see the MCU team show up for a while. There's a rumor that it's actually going to start out as a period piece movie with them being lost in time back in the 1960s, paying off that Doctor Strange Multiverse of Madness Easter egg. Then at some point during the movie, they'll find a way back to present day. They'll time travel to present day before the events of Avengers 5 Kang Dynasty. Part of the idea in the future is they want the new version of Reed Richards to be like a big central figure that rallies everyone together, like a big Avengers level character. One of the problems right now, though, is like the biggest fan favorite character, like the most popular character that they still have around who's an Avengers level person would be Spider-Man, but he's still just entering college. Like he's not quite there, not quite ready to lead all the Avengers. Normally, had Chadwick Boseman not passed away, I would say that Black Panther would be the new leader of the Avengers. But in his absence, Reed Richards would be like the next best person to go to. Doctor Strange is also probably one of the biggest characters that could do it, but he's kind of a loner mostly. Like he works with the Illuminati, for instance, he works with the Avengers team, but he doesn't really consider himself an Avenger. Then they'll end the series in a way that sets up the Marvels movie, probably a post-credit scene with Captain Marvel or something like that, and they'll also probably explain what's going to happen to the rest of the Skrulls that are left on planet Earth. Nick Fury will probably get his job back and go back to the Saber space station, and that will lead right to the beginning of the events of the Marvels movie. The other side of this is explaining how the Dark Reign era begins. Like, how does Thunderbolt Ross become the next president of the United States? In one of two ways. Either the president winds up dying here, the vice president takes over, and Thunderbolt Ross is either already the vice president, or there's another election really soon after this. The world finds out about the Skrulls, and Thunderbolt Ross just capitalizes on the fear around that and uses that to win the election. But part of the idea is that when he becomes US president, he basically tasks Val with restarting the Weapons Plus program, and she's the person responsible for creating the Sentry and what happens during the Thunderbolts movie. That'll happen right after Captain America 4. Cannot wait to see what they do with the Sentry in the MCU. That's going to be crazy. There's a bunch of stuff happening this week. My full episode 5 video will post Wednesday. Make sure to enable alerts for my channel so you don't miss that. And then the week after that, they will have Comic-Con. Even though a lot of studios have backed out, there's still going to be a bunch of stuff dropping. So I'll do videos for all the big Comic-Con trailers that do get released. There'll be a new trailer for the Marvels movie the next couple of weeks too. Click here for my Secret Invasion episode 5 video. I'll update the link as soon as I post it. And click here for that new Deadpool 3 Wolverine video. Thank you so much for watching. Everyone stay safe, and I'll see you guys in the next one.